The second phase of humanity's war began exactly 72 hours after Taimin Park's execution. Admiral Mira Zhang stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching as the tactical display showed human forces moving into position around key alien worlds. "All task forces report ready," announced Captain Yunji Park from her station. "Phase 2 targets are confirmed. Awaiting your orders, Admiral." Zhang looked at the countdown timer that had been running since Taimin's death. 3 days, 4 hours, 17 minutes. Not nearly long enough for the aliens to realize the scope of their mistake. "Send the message," she ordered. Across the galaxy, every communication network still functioning received the same transmission. President Quan's face appeared on screens from the Vorthak Crystal Palaces to the Corlan Logic Centers. "The time for negotiation has passed," he said simply. "You chose to ignore our demands. You chose to let our ambassador's murder go unanswered. Now you will face the consequences." The transmission ended with a simple image, a human fist crushing a model of the Galactic Council Station. Then the attacks began. The Vorthak Imperial Naval Academy was the pride of their empire, a massive crystal structure orbiting their homeworld, where their greatest military minds were trained. It had never been attacked in its 3-million-year history. Commander Jin Woo Park led the assault with a squadron of Hermes-class stealth fighters. They emerged from hyperspace inside the Academy's defensive perimeter, having traveled through dimensions the Vorthak didn't know existed. "Target their command center first," he ordered his pilots, "then the training facilities. Remember, we're here to send a message, not to slaughter students." The quantum disruptor cannons opened fire. The crystal walls of the Academy, designed to withstand any known weapon, simply ceased to exist where the beams touched them. In minutes, the most prestigious military institution in Vorthak space was reduced to glittering debris. 15,000 Vorthak officers and instructors died in the attack. The students were evacuated to emergency pods as Jinwoo had planned. The message was clear. Humanity could have killed everyone, but chose to show restraint. Simultaneously, Captain Young-Soo Han led a strike team against the Corlan Central Processing Hub. This was the digital brain that coordinated all Corlan military and civilian operations, a planet-sized computer protected by the most advanced cyber defenses in the galaxy. Han's team didn't need to break through the defenses. They had been inside the system for 30 years. "Activate sleeping protocols," he ordered his cyber warfare specialists. "Upload the virus packages. Let's show them what happens when machines try to fight humans." The virus was a masterpiece of human engineering, designed specifically to exploit weaknesses in Corlan logic networks. It didn't destroy their systems. It made them doubt everything. Every calculation became uncertain. Every decision became questionable. The logical minds that had ruled Corlan society for millions of years suddenly couldn't trust their own thoughts. The entire Corlan Republic ground to a halt as their digital infrastructure collapsed into confusion. Ships stopped moving. Factories shut down. Even simple communication became impossible as the machines couldn't decide what messages were real. The attack on the Netheri Collective was the most brutal. Lieutenant Commander Sujin Han led a squadron of specialized ships armed with atmospheric processors, weapons designed to change the chemical composition of gas clouds. The Netheri lived in carefully maintained gas environments that allowed their energy-based life forms to exist. The humans introduced compounds that were harmless to most life, but deadly to beings made of organized gas. 3 of the Netheri's primary breeding stations were attacked simultaneously. The gas clouds that contained billions of their young were corrupted, making reproduction impossible for their species. It was a death sentence delivered slowly, ensuring the Netheri would spend generations watching their civilization fade away. Within 72 hours of the second phase beginning, the 3 major powers of the Galactic Council had lost their ability to function as organized military forces. But Admiral Zhang was just getting started. "Begin Phase 3, she ordered. "Target civilian infrastructure." Fleet Admiral Seung-Ho Lim commanded the largest task force consisting of 50 Olympus-class dreadnoughts. His mission was to demonstrate that humanity could cripple entire star systems without firing a shot. His first target was the Zenthari Trade Hub, the economic heart of the galaxy. Millions of ships pass through the system every day, carrying goods and information between thousands of worlds. It was defended by automated weapons, platforms, and patrol fleets from a dozen different Species Lim's ships emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the system and began broadcasting on all frequencies. "This is Fleet Admiral Lim of the Terran Navy," he announced. "You have 60 minutes to evacuate all civilian personnel from this system. After that time, we will begin systematic destruction of all infrastructure." This is not a negotiation. The evacuation was chaotic but swift. Alien ships fled in every direction, carrying word of humanity's power to every corner of the galaxy. When the hour was up, Lim's dreadnoughts opened fire. The automated defense platforms were the first to go, vaporized by concentrated fire from dozens of ships. Then the orbital stations, each one the size of a small city. Then the trade routes themselves, as human ships deployed devices that made hyperspace travel impossible in the region. In 6 hours, the economic center of galactic civilization became an empty system filled with debris. Trillions of credits in trade simply stopped flowing. Planets that depended on imported food and supplies suddenly faced starvation. The psychological impact was even greater than the economic damage. The aliens had never seen such precise, overwhelming destruction. Human ships appeared and disappeared like ghosts, striking targets across hundreds of light years simultaneously. Captain Yunji Park led raids against communication networks, cutting the connections between alien worlds. Commander Young Soo Han's intelligence operatives activated weapon caches on alien homeworlds, proving that humanity could strike anywhere, anytime. Within 1 week of the war's beginning, galactic civilization was collapsing. Supply chains were broken. Communication networks were down. Military forces were scattered and demoralized, but the aliens still had numbers. First Crystal Venthara of the Vorthak Empire managed to gather the surviving Council forces for a desperate counterattack. Nearly 4,000 ships from a dozen different species assembled at the nexus point, a strategic system that controlled access to the galaxy's core worlds. "The humans are few and we are many," Venthara broadcast to the assembled fleet. "They rely on surprise and superior technology, but in a direct battle, courage and numbers will prevail. We will destroy their fleet and end this war." The alien armada was impressive by any standard. Ships that had never worked together before formed battle lines, united by their hatred of the species that had humiliated them. Crystal vessels flew alongside mechanical constructs and energy beings, all determined to restore their lost pride. Admiral Zhang received word of the gathering through her intelligence network. She smiled grimly as she studied the tactical reports. "They want a direct confrontation," she told her staff. "They think this is the kind of war they understand. Let's show them how wrong they are." The Terran fleet that moved to meet the alien armada consisted of only 200 ships. The aliens outnumbered them 20 to 1. They had more firepower, more shields, more of everything except understanding. The Battle of Nexus Point would prove that numbers meant nothing when one side had been preparing for war for 50 years while the other had grown soft from millions of years of peace as the two fleets moved toward each other through the dark between stars. Captain Yunji Park made a final check of her ship's systems. The Tayman's Vengeance was ready for battle, armed with weapons that could crack planets and shields that could withstand the fury of a star. "This is for you, brother," she whispered, thinking of the ambassador who had died to give humanity this chance for revenge. They're about to learn what it means to face an angry human. The truth about humanity's hidden strength began 53 years earlier, when the first alien scout ship entered Earth's solar system. Dr. Dong Hyun Yoon, then a young scientist working on quantum mechanics, was part of the team that examined the wreckage after Earth's primitive missiles managed to damage the alien vessel. What they found changed everything humanity thought they knew about physics. The alien technology was like finding a computer chip in the Stone Age, Dong Hyun later told his research team. "We knew immediately that we were dealing with forces far beyond our understanding. But we also knew that if we could learn from it, we could leapfrog millions of years of normal development." The Global Defense Initiative was formed in secret. Every major nation contributed their best scientists, engineers, and military minds. They had one goal: prepare Earth for the day when the aliens returned. The project was hidden from the public for obvious reasons. If people knew that hostile aliens had already found Earth, panic would destroy civilization before the aliens ever returned. Instead, the world's governments told a careful lie. They were investing in space exploration and asteroid mining for the future of humanity. The asteroid mining part wasn't entirely false. Colonel Young-Soo Han led teams of miners who carved out massive hidden bases throughout the solar system. Inside these bases, Earth's best minds worked to understand and improve upon alien technology. The breakthrough came 15 years later when Dr. Dong-hyun's team successfully reverse-engineered the alien faster-than-light drive. But they didn't stop there. They improved it, making it faster and more efficient than the original design. The aliens built their technology to last for millions of years, explained Dr. Dong-hyun to the Global Defense Council. They prioritized stability over performance. We prioritized performance over everything else. Our drives are faster, but they only last about 50 years before burning out. For our purposes, that's more than enough. The second breakthrough was weaponry. Captain Yoonji Park, Taemin's sister, was part of the military team analyzing alien defensive systems. What they discovered was that each alien species had specialized in defending against threats they understood. The Vorthak crystal-based technology is incredibly strong against energy weapons, she reported, but it's vulnerable to quantum disruption fields. The Corlin cybernetic systems can adapt to almost any attack pattern, but they can be completely shut down by the right electromagnetic pulse. The Netheri gas-form beings are nearly impossible to target with conventional weapons, but they need specific atmospheric conditions to survive. For 30 years, Earth's hidden shipyards worked around the clock. They built vessels that looked primitive on the outside, but contained technology that surpassed anything in the galactic databases. Each ship was designed to exploit the specific weaknesses of known alien species. The Terran Annihilation fleet consisted of 500 ships, each one specialized for different types of warfare. The largest were the Olympus-class dreadnoughts, mobile battle stations armed with quantum disruptor cannons capable of destabilizing entire planets. The smallest were the Hermes-class stealth fighters, nearly invisible to alien sensors and armed with weapons that could disable enemy ships without destroying them. But ships were only part of the plan. Captain Young-Soo Han's intelligence network was the real masterpiece. Over the decades, Earth had sent thousands of refugees and traders into galactic space. These humans appeared to be struggling survivors of a backward species, grateful for any help the advanced aliens might provide. In reality, they were highly trained intelligence operatives with perfect cover identities. The aliens never suspected, Han later explained to the military council. They saw us as primitive pets at best, dangerous animals at worst. They never imagined we could be gathering intelligence on their military capabilities, their economic systems, their political structures. We know more about them than they know about themselves. The operatives established weapon caches on hundreds of worlds. They mapped every important installation in council space. They identified key figures in each government and military organization. When the time came for war, humanity would know exactly where to strike for maximum effect. Admiral Mira Jang had commanded the Hidden Fleet for 12 years, waiting for the day she hoped would never come. When President Kwan activated the Annihilation Protocol, she was ready. "Every ship in my fleet has been built for one purpose," she told her captains in their final briefing, "to make the aliens regret underestimating humanity. We're not trying to conquer them. We're not trying to rule them. We're trying to teach them that there are consequences for murdering our people." The fleet's technology was designed to be overwhelming. Human ships could travel faster than alien vessels and remain undetected until they chose to reveal themselves. Their weapons could penetrate any known defensive system. Their communication networks could jam alien frequencies while remaining secure themselves. But the most impressive part of Earth's hidden arsenal wasn't the ships or weapons. It was the manufacturing capability. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, automated factories had been running for 40 years. They could produce new ships, weapons, and equipment faster than any alien civilization. If the war dragged on, Earth could replace its losses while the aliens could not. "We learned efficiency from watching the aliens fight each other," explained Dr. Dong-hyun, now the head of Earth's military research division. "They build everything to last forever, which means they build slowly and expensively. We build everything to work perfectly for exactly as long as we need it, which means we can build quickly and cheaply." The final secret was humanity's understanding of alien psychology. For 50 years, Earth's diplomats and spies had studied how the different species thought and reacted. They knew which ones would fight to the death and which ones would surrender when faced with overwhelming force. "The Vorthak are proud but practical," analyzed Dr. Soo-Jin Lee, Earth's chief xenopsychologist. They'll fight as long as they think they can win, but they'll negotiate when defeat becomes certain. The Corlin are logical machines. Show them that resistance is mathematically impossible, and they'll surrender immediately. The Netheri are cowards. Hit them hard enough and they'll abandon their allies to save themselves. When the 48-hour deadline expired without any response from the Galactic Council, Admiral Zhang gave the order that would reshape the galaxy. All ships, this is Fleet Command. Operation Righteous Fury is now active. Begin Phase 1 strikes. Show them what happens when you murder a human ambassador. Across 12 star systems, the hidden fleet emerged from hyperspace simultaneously. The aliens had known they were coming, but had no idea where they would strike or how devastating the attack would be. The first targets were carefully chosen for maximum psychological impact. Military academies where alien officers trained. Government buildings where council representatives worked. Communications centers that connected the galaxy's information networks. The attacks were surgical and precise. Human ships appeared, destroyed their targets, and vanished before alien defenses could respond. Within 6 hours, the three major powers had lost their ability to coordinate a response. Phase 1 complete, reported Captain Yoonji Park from the bridge of her ship, the Taemin's Vengeance. All primary targets destroyed. Alien communication networks are down. Their fleets are scattered and confused. Admiral Zhang nodded grimly. Begin Phase 2. It's time to show them what real fear looks like. The hidden arsenal that humanity had built in secret was about to be revealed in all its terrible glory. The aliens had thought they were dealing with primitives. They were about to learn the difference between being primitive and appearing primitive. The galaxy was about to discover that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their ships or their guns. It was their ability to plan, to wait, and to strike when their enemies least expected it. Dawn came quickly on the station. Taemin had not slept. He spent his last night writing letters to his family that would never be delivered, and thinking about the blue skies of Earth he would never see again. The execution chamber was built like an ancient arena. Thousands of aliens filled the curved seats, here to witness the death of the human who represented a species of genocidal monsters. At least that's what they believed. Taemin was led to the center of the chamber in shackles. The execution device was alien technology he didn't recognize, a pillar of dark metal that hummed with contained energy. When activated, it would disintegrate every atom of his body in less than a second. First, Crystal Venthara stood on a raised platform, its crystalline form glowing with ceremonial light. Ambassador Taemin Park, you have been found guilty of representing a species that committed xenocide. Do you have any final words before sentence is carried out? Taemin looked up at the thousands of watching faces. In the front row, he could see So Young and Wu Jin. So Young's face was streaked with tears, but Wu Jin was making subtle hand signals. The message was clear. Help is coming. Taemin straightened his shoulders and spoke in a clear voice that carried across the silent chamber. I die innocent of the crimes you accuse me of. My people are innocent. We came here seeking friendship and peace, and you have answered with lies and murder. But I want you to remember this moment. Remember the day you executed an innocent ambassador. Remember the day you declared war on humanity without knowing what humanity truly is. He paused, looking directly at Venthara. You think you are dealing with primitives. You think we are helpless children playing with toys we don't understand. You are wrong. You have awakened something that has slept in the darkness between stars, waiting for this moment. You will learn what it means to face human anger. Venthara made a sound like breaking crystal. Empty threats from a condemned criminal. Activate the device. The execution pillar began to glow. Energy gathered around its peak, preparing to tear Taemin apart at the molecular level. He closed his eyes and thought of home. I am Taemin Park of Earth, he said quietly, and I am not afraid. The energy discharge lit up the chamber like a miniature sun. When the light faded, nothing remained of Earth's first ambassador except empty shackles and the memory of his final words. The aliens began to disperse, already forgetting the human who had died for crimes his species didn't commit. They had more important things to worry about than one dead primitive. They were still congratulating themselves 3 days later, when the quantum communication from Earth reached the station. President Hyun Soo, Kwan's face appeared on every screen in the station simultaneously. Behind him stood the flags of United Earth and the faces of humanity's military leadership. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned with controlled fury. To the Galactic Council and all member species, 3 days ago, you murdered our ambassador. You executed an innocent man based on fabricated evidence. You declared humanity too dangerous to exist in civilized space. You have made the greatest mistake in galactic history. The transmission cut to footage of Earth's cities. But these weren't the struggling settlements the aliens expected to see. Massive industrial complexes stretched beyond the horizon. Shipyards the size of small moons orbited the planet. Weapons platforms bristled from every asteroid in the solar system. You thought you knew what humanity was capable of, Quan continued. You were wrong. For 50 years, since our first contact with your scout ships, we have been preparing for this day. We hoped it would never come. We prayed that reason and diplomacy would prevail. You have made prayer impossible. The scene shifted to show Admiral Mira Zhang standing on the bridge of a ship that defied imagination. The vessel stretched for kilometers in every direction, its hull covered in weapons that radiated barely contained energy. This is Admiral Zhang of the Terran Annihilation Fleet, she said. By the time you receive this message, our ships will already be in position around your key systems. You have 48 hours to turn over everyone responsible for Ambassador Park's death. You have 48 hours to publicly admit that the charges against humanity were fabricated. You have 48 hours to formally apologize for this act of war. The camera pulled back to show the bridge of Zhang's flagship. Every station was manned by grim-faced humans in black uniforms. Red countdown timers showed exactly how much time remained. If our demands are not met, Zhang continued, we will begin the systematic destruction of your civilization. We will start with your military installations, then your government facilities, then your industrial centers. We will continue until you surrender unconditionally, or until nothing remains of your galactic council but radioactive debris. President Quan reappeared on screen. You want to know what humanity is capable of? You accused us of destroying the Rillan colonies. We didn't do that, but we could have. We could have done it without leaving our solar system. We could have done it without you ever knowing we were responsible. Behind him, a holographic display showed the true extent of Earth's military preparation. Hidden bases throughout the galaxy, weapons caches on supposedly uninhabited worlds, sleeper agents who had been posing as human refugees and traitors for decades. Our ships are faster than yours, Quan said. Our weapons are more powerful. Our intelligence network knows your every weakness. We have been watching you, learning from you, preparing to defend ourselves against you, and now you have given us reason to use everything we have built. The transmission showed one final image, a massive fleet emerging from hyperspace. Hundreds of ships, each one larger and more advanced than anything in the alien databases. They moved with perfect coordination, like a school of mechanical fish hunting in the void. You wanted to see human savagery, Admiral Zhang said, her voice echoing across the galaxy. You wanted to see what monsters look like. Congratulations, you are about to get your wish. The transmission ended with a simple countdown timer. 47 hours. 59 minutes, 58 seconds, on the station. Emergency sessions were called. Panic spread through the alien delegations as they realized the primitive species they had so casually condemned was anything but helpless. Intelligence reports flooded in from across the galaxy, all saying the same thing. Human ships were everywhere, and they were armed for total war. In the viewing gallery where she had watched Taemin die, So Young Kim stood with tears in her eyes. But now they were tears of pride, not grief, did you know? She asked Wu Jin quietly. The military attaché nodded grimly. Not all of it, but enough. Ambassador Park knew too. He knew this might happen, and he knew Earth would respond. He died knowing that his death would not be meaningless. What happens now? Wu Jin looked out at the alien ships fleeing the station in panic. Now they learn what it means to face humanity's wrath, and they learn that we never forget our dead. 3 weeks had passed since Taemin and his team arrived at the station. Every day brought new insults disguised as diplomatic protocol. The aliens made them wait hours for meetings that lasted only minutes. They assigned them guides who led them in circles through empty corridors. The food dispenser in their quarters had been programmed to provide only the blandest nutrition paste available. Taemin endured it all with patience. This was too important to let pride get in the way. Earth needed allies in the galaxy, and he would do whatever it took to secure them. On the 22nd day, everything changed. So Young burst into their quarters, her face pale with shock. Sir, you need to see this. They're broadcasting it on every channel in the station. She activated the wall display. The image showed a star system Taemin recognized from the navigation charts. Kepler 442, about 30 light-years from Earth. But something was wrong with the picture. Where there should have been 3 inhabited planets, only dead rocks remained. A Vorthak news announcer spoke in its crystal voice. The peaceful Rillan colonies in the Kepler 442 system have been completely destroyed. All 12 billion inhabitants are dead. The attacking force has been identified as ships from the primitive species calling themselves humans. The display switched to what looked like security footage. Taemin watched in horror as ships that resembled human designs opened fire on civilian targets. Cities burned. Orbital stations exploded. The footage was grainy but convincing. "This is impossible," Wu Jin said, leaning closer to the screen. "Our fastest ships take months to reach that system. We don't even have weapons capable of this kind of destruction." "Sir," So Young said quietly, "they're calling for your immediate arrest." As if summoned by her words, the door to their quarters slid open. A squad of Corlin security officers entered, their mechanical parts whirring softly. The lead officer's voice sounded like a broken radio. "Ambassador Taemin Park, you are under arrest for the crime of xenocide. You will come with us now." "I demand to speak with my government," Taemin said, standing slowly. "I have diplomatic immunity." "Diplomatic immunity does not apply to war criminals," the officer replied. "You will come now or we will use force." Taemin looked at his team. So Young was already reaching for the communication console, but Wu Jin shook his head slightly. Their quantum communicator had been jammed for hours. "Earth couldn't help them now, I'll come," Taemin said. "But I want it on record that this is a violation of galactic law." The officer made a sound like mechanical laughter. "You are in no position to lecture us about law, human." They dragged him through the station's corridors. Aliens stopped to stare as the security team passed. Some made sounds that might have been approval. Others seemed merely curious, as if watching an interesting animal being led to slaughter. The courtroom was larger than the council chamber, with viewing galleries that could hold thousands of spectators. Most were already filled. Taemin was placed in a cage-like structure in the center of the room, surrounded by force fields that hummed with deadly energy. First, Crystal Venthara presided as judge. The 3 major powers had representatives as prosecutors. No one spoke for the defense. This court recognizes the charges of xenocide against the species known as humans, represented by their ambassador Taemin Park, Venthara announced. "The evidence will now be presented." What followed was 3 hours of fabricated evidence so well crafted that even Taemin began to doubt his own memories. They showed detailed scans of human ship designs attacking the Rillan colonies. They presented communication intercepts of human voices giving orders to destroy civilian targets. They even had video testimony from supposed survivors who identified human attackers. "The evidence is clear," said Logic Node 001 from the Corlin platform. "The humans planned and executed a systematic campaign of genocide against the peaceful Rillan people. Their ambassador sits before us as the representative of a species too dangerous to exist in civilized space." Taemin was finally allowed to speak. He stood in his cage looking up at the thousands of alien faces staring down at him. "Honored delegates," he began, his voice steady despite the hopelessness of his situation. "I swear by everything I hold sacred that humanity had nothing to do with this attack. We don't have ships capable of reaching that system. We don't have weapons that could cause such destruction. Someone has created this evidence to frame us." "Your denials are meaningless," said a Netheri voice from the gas cloud. "The evidence speaks for itself. Your species is guilty of the worst crime possible, the complete destruction of another sentient race." "Then investigate," Taemin shouted. "Send a team to examine the wreckage. Test the evidence. Give us the chance to prove our innocence." Venthara's crystal body pulsed with cold light. "The council has seen enough evidence. The vote will now be taken." One by one, the alien delegations voted. Guilty, guilty, guilty. Only a few abstained. None voted for humanity's innocence. "The verdict is unanimous," Venthara announced. "The species known as humans is guilty of xenocide. As their representative, Ambassador Taemin Park will pay the price for his people's crimes. He will be executed at dawn tomorrow. Furthermore, the human species is banned from ever entering civilized space again. Any human ship found beyond their home system will be destroyed on sight." The force field around Taemin's cage intensified. He felt the energy burning his skin, but he remained standing. "You are making a terrible mistake," he said, his voice carrying across the silent courtroom. "When the truth comes out, and it will come out, you will regret this day. Humanity will not forget what you have done here." As the guards led him away, Taemin caught sight of So Young and Wu Jin in the gallery. So Young was crying, but Wu Jin's face was stone. Their eyes met for just a moment, and Taemin saw something there that gave him hope. Wu Jin knew something. Maybe Earth wasn't as helpless as these aliens believed. In his cell that night, Taemin sat quietly and thought about his home. Somewhere, 30 light-years away, Earth continued to spin in its orbit around a yellow star. His people were going about their daily lives, unaware that their first ambassador was about to die for a crime he didn't commit. But as he prepared for death, Taemin found himself thinking about something Wu Jin had said during their journey to the station. "Sir, if something goes wrong out here, Earth has contingency plans. We're not as defenseless as we appear." At the time, Taemin had assumed it was just military bravado. Now, facing execution, he hoped with all his heart that Wu Jin had been telling the truth. The aliens thought they were dealing with a primitive species that could be easily bullied or destroyed. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The massive alien station hung in space like a giant metal flower. Its twisted arms reached out into the darkness, each one the size of a city. Ambassador Taemin Park pressed his face against the small window of the human ship and stared at the impossible structure. After 3 months of travel, they had finally reached Galactic Council Station Omega-7. "Sir, we're getting docking instructions," said So Young Kim, his diplomatic aide. She was young but smart, with quick eyes that missed nothing. "Bay 247, that's in the outer ring." Wu Jin Lee, their military attaché, frowned at his tablet. "The outer ring is where they put the garbage collectors and supply ships. This is not a good sign." Taemin straightened his formal black suit and checked his appearance one last time. He was Earth's first ambassador to the galaxy, carrying humanity's hope for peaceful contact with alien civilizations. The weight of 6 billion people rested on his shoulders. "Remember," he told his small team as their ship, the New Soul, moved toward the docking bay. "We are here to make friends, not enemies. We want to join their council and learn from them." The docking process took 2 hours. Human technology was still primitive compared to what the aliens used. Their ship looked like a metal box next to the flowing, organic shapes of alien vessels. Some ships seemed to be made of living crystal. Others appeared to be pure energy held in force fields. When they finally stepped off their ship, the first thing that hit them was the smell. The station's air was thick and heavy, filled with strange chemical odors that made their eyes water. The gravity was also wrong, about 20% heavier than Earth normal. A floating blob of green gas approached them. It spoke through a translation device that made its voice sound like grinding metal. "You are the humans, follow me. Do not touch anything. Do not speak to anyone unless spoken to first." The thing floated away without waiting for an answer. Taemin and his team hurried to keep up, their heavy footsteps echoing in the vast corridor. The walls were covered in symbols that hurt to look at directly. Strange aliens moved past them, some walking, some floating, some moving in ways that had no name. A creature that looked like a walking tree covered in blue leaves pointed at them and made a sound like laughing. Another alien, shaped like a giant spider made of chrome, clicked its metal legs in what might have been mockery. "They're staring at us," So Young whispered. "Let them stare," Taemin replied quietly. "We have every right to be here." The green gas blob led them through corridor after corridor. The station was enormous, easily the size of a small moon. Finally, they reached a massive chamber filled with floating platforms. On each platform sat the representative of a different alien species. At the center of the room, 3 larger platforms held the most important delegations. The first was made of living crystal that pulsed with inner light. Tall, graceful beings with diamond-hard skin sat on crystal thrones. These were the Vorthak, the oldest and most powerful empire in the galaxy. The second platform was a cloud of glowing gas contained in a force field. Shapes moved within the gas, never quite solid, never quite there. The Netheri Collective, a species that had given up physical form millions of years ago. The third platform looked like the inside of a computer. Beings that were part flesh, part machine stood in perfect formation. The Corlin Republic, where organic life had merged with artificial intelligence. "Humans," the gas blob announced in its grinding voice. "Present yourselves." A small, simple platform rose from the floor near the edge of the room. It was made of plain metal and had 3 basic chairs. The message was clear. Humans were not important. Taemin walked to the platform with dignity. So Young and Woojin followed. As they took their seats, he could feel hundreds of alien eyes watching them. Some were curious. Most were dismissive. A crystal being on the Vorthak platform stood. When it spoke, its voice was like singing glass. I am First Crystal Venthara of the Vorthak Empire. Why do you come before the Galactic Council? Taemin rose and bowed slightly. Honored delegates, I am Ambassador Taemin Park of Earth. Humanity comes seeking friendship and membership in the galactic community. We offer our knowledge, our skills, and our commitment to peace. A sound like static came from the Corlin platform. One of the machine beings spoke with a voice like a computer. Your species is young. You have existed for only a few million years. You have had space travel for less than a century. What can you possibly offer us? We offer a fresh perspective, Taemin replied calmly. We offer enthusiasm and the willingness to learn. We offer the diversity that comes from a world with many different cultures and ideas. A ripple of what might have been laughter moved through the gas cloud of the Netheri. When they spoke, their voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. Diversity. How quaint. Your species still fights wars with each other. You poison your own planet. You are children playing with dangerous toys. Taemin felt his face flush with anger, but he kept his voice level. Every species has had to grow and learn. We admit we have made mistakes, but we are trying to do better. We have ended most of our wars. We are working to heal our planet. We ask only for the chance to prove ourselves. The crystal being Venthara made a sound like breaking glass. The council will consider your request. You will be given quarters in the outer ring. Do not leave your assigned areas without permission. Do not attempt to contact other delegations without approval. The council will meet in 7 days to discuss your application. The platform began to lower. The audience was over. As they were led back through the corridors to their quarters, Woojin leaned close to Taemin. This was a setup. They never intended to take us seriously. Perhaps, Taemin said quietly, but we are here now. We will make the best of it. Their quarters were small and basic, like a cheap hotel room. The furniture was made for beings much larger than humans. The food dispenser only provided a thin, tasteless paste that was supposedly safe for human consumption. That night, as Taemin stared out the small window at the alien stars, So Young came to sit beside him. Sir, I've been monitoring the station's communication channels. The other delegations are already talking about us. Most of them think we're a joke. And what do you think? Taemin asked. So Young was quiet for a moment. I think they're going to be very surprised when they learn what humans are really capable of. Taemin smiled grimly. If only she knew how right she was.